and Dudettes, Mr. Theorist here, and welcome back to Child's Play Review. In this episode we'll be covering Child's Play 2. This is the second part in an 8-part series where I'll be covering the entirety of the Child's Play saga and kind of giving you a review and kind of my thoughts, as it is October and it's Halloween month, so why not do a horror series? If you watched part 1, you know that I covered Child's Play 1, and in it I broke down the plot and then kind of how I felt about it. We're going to add a little bit to the mix in this episode, where I'm going to kind of give you my idea on where I think the rules of this universe are. If you're kind of like me and you're kind of like analysing a movie universe, you notice that each kind of universe, like their characters follow rule sets, and the universe itself, there's like certain things that wouldn't work in our real world but work in kind of the film world. You'll see what I mean when we get to that part. So let's begin this by giving you a plot summary. So how does Child's Play 2 play out compared to number 1? Pretty much it's quite similar to the first Child's Play, where it's about a doll who is possessed by the soul of a killer called Charles Lee Ray, and he is still out to get Andy, who is the protagonist from the first one, who he has to swap bodies with. So Andy is trapped in the doll's body and Charles Lee Ray will then have Andy's body, because Andy was the first person he told to that he is possessing this doll's body. Kind of rules of the voodoo of this universe. So in this one, it plays a couple of months after the first film, where it starts out with them rebuilding the Chucky doll. You don't quite understand why at first, but then you realise it's a PR thing, and the company, which is the Good Guy Doll Company, who build the Good Guy dolls, which Chucky is one, they are trying to make sure that their stockholders are still on board with, obviously, funding the company. So they rebuild the Chucky doll because they want to keep up this pretense that it was all in the boy's head. There was no psycho doll or anything. They talk about how the mum has been put into psychiatric care and the police are denying everything. The boy, everyone just assumes is a bit crazy and lost it. So they rebuild the doll so it doesn't look burnt and mangled and in pieces. So they can be like, look, there's nothing wrong here. And then literally just as they finish building the Chucky doll, when they input the eyes, the engineers that are building Chucky's new body, he gets electrocuted. It's like the machine goes AWOL and the whole Chucky doll like glows red, and clearly the magical elements cause the circuitry to malfunction and the engineer dies. The boss of Good Guy Dolls decides he doesn't want anything to do with it and goes, I don't care, get rid of the doll, like, we'll just sweep this under the rug. So his second in command goes to take the doll home, but Chucky jumps him, manages to find out where Andy is being kept, and we find out that Andy is now being taken into care because his mum's in a psychiatric ward. Andy is taken into by a new foster family, and they are trying to be very loving. The mother is super loving. And the actress who plays the mum is actually one of the main characters from American Werewolf in London, I believe. So that's a cool little movie universe hopping awesomeness. But the father is a bit more strict. And when they take Andy in, they tell him not to play with any of the old pottery figurines that the mother owns. It says 3 generations has been in her family. That's a Chekhov's gun kind of thing they set up for later on, and basically say, look Andy, we've got you this doll, it's just a doll, don't freak out. My mum's kind of like, you shouldn't really be doing this, like the kids, nah. But the father's like very much like, no kid, you should understand what's real and what's fake, blah 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 blah. So Chucky manages to get there. He switches himself with the normal non-possessed Good Guy doll, which was called Tommy, and bashes its toy's skull in with the china pottery that's been in their generation for 3 years and breaks it. Oh no, I wonder who's going to get blamed for that. He then buries Tommy in the back garden, cackling as he does it. It's like, okay Chucky, you've got some real problems beyond just murdering people. And then the next morning wakes up and obviously the parents find the broken china and they say, is it Andy that did it, or is it the other kid, the foster kid they've taken on, which is like a 15-year-old girl who smokes. And she's like, I didn't do it. And Andy's like, I didn't do it. I'm like, okay, you're both grounded until we figure it out. Obviously now that makes the other foster kid kind of Andy's foster sister, not like Andy for a bit. She's like, I'm going on a date tonight. And he's like, nope, sorry. We now flash forward. She's obviously gone on a date, but that night Andy is tied up and by Chucky, and he begins to form the ritual. And he's almost completes it. Like, we're only about half an hour into the movie, and he almost gets Andy's body, but the sister comes home, she climbs over Andy's window, and Chucky's like, wait till you're alone, next time you're mine. And he has to act like a doll again. The sister comes in, starts to untie Andy, the parents hear the kerfuffling sounds, and see that the foster sister is sitting over Andy, who is tied to the bed, and they're like, oh, did you tie him up to stop him telling us that you had snuck out at night? She's like, no. So obviously the parents have no idea. The sister's like, how did you manage to tie yourself up? And he's like, Chucky did it. Foster dad is annoyed and chucks Chucky into the basement and says, look, the doll is fake. You need to stop this. Now let's go to bed. Everyone goes to bed, and then Chucky gets up from his doll, from acting like a doll, and realises his nose is bleeding. He's like, no, not yet. Because the rule is that he has a limited amount of time to get out of the doll body, otherwise he will be stuck in it forever. He then follows Andy to school, kills Andy's teacher with a bicycle pump, because everything in this universe is a weapon. And then Andy races home because he manages to get away, and you find out the teacher blamed Andy for Chucky writing F-U female dog. As I said, I'm not going to swear if I don't need to in these videos. And she goes to put him in detention. So they assume that Andy's just run off home because he's been in detention, and he's still using the fantasy of the Chucky doll to basically, like, I didn't want to stay in school anymore. That night, what happens is Chucky then again is in the house, and Andy's just had enough. He's that's it, done with this now. Andy's a little older now. Yeah, he looks more than just a couple of months older than he did in the previous film. He's more mature and stuff, but we'll breeze over that. And he grabs kind of a thing that not many people use anymore. I think it was like a very 90s kind of gadget. It's like an electronic carving knife. Don't know if maybe it's more of an American thing. We don't really have it over here. And he decides to use that because he's going to go kill Chucky. So he goes into the basement, he goes to find Chucky. And Chucky jumps him, but he manages to hit Chucky a bit with the carving. Chucky screams. The dad hears the sound, no one else does, so he goes to investigate the basement. He sees Andy with the electric carving. He's like, Andy, put the knife down. Starts walking slowly towards him on the rickety stairs. Chucky gets hold of this weird hook thing, hooks the dad's legs. The dad tumbles and snaps his neck. Mother comes down to investigate, sees the dad dead, blames Andy and's like, nah, sorry, done, send him back to foster care. So everything's kind of sad. Andy's been taken back into foster care, and the sister, who Andy and her have become kind of friends now, goes to have a smoke in the back garden, throws away Chucky into the dustbin. But while she's on the swing in the garden, she scuffs up the dirt and realises that the Tommy Good Guy doll is buried. And she's like, what? So she goes to the bin, and Chucky's gone. She then goes in the house to investigate, like, oh no, what if my foster mum is in trouble? And she finds her foster mum at the sewing table. The room's a mess, but it's like, okay. Turns the foster mum around, throat slit, tied up, she's dead. Chucky goes to jump her. She's got hold of a hunting knife to protect herself that she found when she was investigating the house. Chucky almost gets her, but she manages to get away, but then Chucky gets hold of her, and he uses her to drive to the foster home to get Andy. Sets off a fire alarm at the foster home, all the kids race out. Andy then sees Kyle, who is the foster sister, with Chucky, who is hiding a knife behind her, and the owner of the foster home, of the orphanage, that's what I'm looking for. The orphanage takes him into the office and goes, Kyle, did you do this? She's like, no, Chucky did. So they start to argue, and then just as she goes to reprimand Kyle, Chucky stabs her with the knife, and like she dies. Kyle goes to grab Andy and race out of the room, but before Andy can get out of the room, Kyle's on the other side of the door. Chucky shuts the door and is like, okay Andy, we're gonna play a little game of Chucky Says. Kyle's trying to get in the room, everything's going crazy, the kids are outside going nuts, fire engine turn up because no one turned the fire alarm off. Andy is then kidnapped, kind of, with and Chucky around his neck, holding the knife, and they escape the orphanage. Kyle then manages to break into the office, realising no one's in there anymore, climbs out the window that Andy and Chucky did, and realises that Andy and Chucky are in the back of a newspaper truck. She gets in a car and she races to try and catch up. She manages to catch up and she stops the newspaper truck, but before she can get to the back of the newspaper truck, Andy and Chucky are already racing, and they just so happen to stop right outside the Good Guy Doll Factory for the final showdown. Kyle races in after being told off by the newspaper guy, calling her crazy female dog. So she chases after them, and they enter a maze of toys, because for some reason this factory decided the best way to store all their toys is not in nice neat rows, but as a maze. Productivity must be annoying as hell in that place. Take someone who works in a warehouse, that's not very good storing system at all. I guess because they're all the same toy, you can kind of just pull them off at random, but then why have them as a maze? It's weird. Because they're all the same dolls, stick them all on the wall. Going off on a tangent here, never mind. So what happens here is Andy manages to get away from Chucky with Kyle's help. They climb up this conveyor belt system. Chucky goes to follow them. They trap Chucky's hand, and Chucky's stuck there. They manage to almost escape, but realise the exit door is shut and can't unlock. Chucky pulls his hand out now that he is completely like in this body. The whole body's becoming flesh. And he rips his hand away, and it's kind of like toy stuff and veins and blood and stuff. And he's like, ah! And he looks at the knife. And he decides he's going to put the knife into the womb. Oh, it's kind of a grim moment actually. So he does that while Kyle and Andy are still trying to find a way out. He manages to get hold of them. Now that he's got the knife hand, you could almost say it's like an Evil Dead kind of reference to the chainsaw hand thing. It's kind of cool. Did they come out about the same time? Did you do before? Maybe? Not quite sure. Yeah. Evil Dead, cool, check them out. I might even do a review series on them one day. There's only about 3 films, so probably won't be an October thing, just a general thing. Anyway, so they manage to get away from Chucky. They hit some buttons to send Chucky back up the conveyor belt that he's hiding on, and in the certain part that he gets sent back to, it kind of merges toy limbs together to build them quicker. But being sent in reverse, they send like a half a dozen limbs into Chucky, and then it comes back forward and it's just a mess. There's a little bit of Chucky with lots of these new toy limbs all over. Yay, they won! And just as they go to exit, you see a blood trail. And you realise that, nope, Chucky didn't die, he just ripped away from his legs as it was merging all the limbs. And now he is legless on a cart. And he's like, you know, first thing I'm going to do, Andy, I'm going to make sure I take your legs. Oh, and during this whole scene, he has already tried again to voodoo doll away Andy's soul, but it's too late. He is now fully merged with the body. So, uh-oh, he's now stuck. What you gonna do? But before he can do that, Kyle manages to... No, Kyle's unconscious actually. Chucky's managed to knock Kyle unconscious at this point. She's heading up a conveyor belt towards the merging limb thing. Uh-oh. Andy, before he gets killed by Chucky, manages to get away, and then Chucky looks up and realises that Andy's hand is on a valve that's going to open up and have an overflow release. It overflows hot, melting plastic, and it gets poured all over Chucky, and he melts away into a goopy stuff that you see bits of hair, and he just, oh, that's grim. Andy races to help Kyle to make sure she doesn't end up in the limb merging part. They do it. Yay, they've saved the day. But this is a 3-part act of the finale, like all horror movies do, where you can't kill the killer once, you have to kill him multiple times. She looks over at the goop and she's like, wow, Andy, what did you do to him? and he manages to get up and goes, ah! Now he's barely recognisable. You just see an eye, teeth, and he's like, ah! So Kyle shoves a gas pipe in and is like, suck on this, and his head grows, poof, blows up, and they save the day. Kyle and Andy walk out the factory with them going, okay Andy, let's go home. Kyle, where is home? Andy, I have no idea. And that is the plot of Child's Play 2. Kind of similar, where pretty much it's just Chucky killing people along the way to try and get Andy's soul. But it kind of it's more gruesome. But we'll talk about that in the next segment, which is kind of my thoughts on this movie. Alright, it's kind of my thoughts. I find it's funnier than the first one. The first one is much more horror-esque. And I kind of noticed this a lot about early 90s kind of horror movies, is they always did like the first one was very serious, crazy killer, very creepy, trying to get his victims. And then if it's a sequel that follows on from the same killer and potentially some of the same victims, it becomes more comedy-esque. The same thing happens with like the Freddy Krueger movies and Nightmare on Elm Street, where the first one is very serious, very horror-esque, and then as you go along they get sillier and sillier and the killer gets more like witty, and you'll notice that as we go along into this series as well. It does happen the same way. It focuses more on the different unique ways that Chucky kills people, which is quite interesting. You have the air pump that he uses to stab the teacher. He then uses a ruler to smack away the teacher, saying you've been very naughty. Somehow that kills her. I guess he's got super strength. We'll talk about that in the rule section. How else is it? Obviously, he uses the hook to hang the dad upside down, and then the dad snaps his neck. He's got some classic ones where he just stabs people with a knife or slices their throat. The engineer at the factory near the end, he pushes him down and he gets eyes poked into his skull. That kills the engineer. So it's more about the uniqueness of the kills rather than oh no, scary doll, everyone thinks it's Andy doing it, because they kind of blame Andy for a little bit, but then they kind of stop doing that about halfway through. They're like, yeah, well, did that in the first one, we're not doing that in the second one. And also, I believe this is kind of the beginning of strong female characters in horror movies, which is great. It's really, really awesome. The first time, like, you kind of notice it in the Screams, because the whole point of the Scream saga is it's a strong female character and everyone else is totally killable. And Kyle, as much as Andy's the main character, Kyle is very much the strong female character who always manages to outbest Chucky in this film, which is great. And I think that's a very early 90s trope that horror movies started to do, is that female characters aren't these weak, oh no, help me kind of characters, are more, I'm cool, badass. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump into the third section that I'm going to add to this this video, which is kind of the rules of the Child's Play universe. I decided to make this after watching Child's Play 2. So yeah, and as we go along, if there's new rules that the movie kind of adds, that each movie adds in, we'll add it to the list of rules we have. Okay, so it seems to be that the rules of this universe is that as long as there is at least one aspect of Chucky, he seems to be alive. But I think it's more like as long as his eyes are. I tried to look this up, try to do a bit of research on whether voodoo magic supposedly works on the idea that the eyes are a really important aspect of a person. I know there's the saying that eyes are the windows into a soul. I'm assuming that's kind of where they got the idea from, because Chucky wasn't alive until they placed his eyes back into the doll's body. Doesn't say that it is the same eyes, but I'm assuming it is, because that's what awakens Chucky as the doll. What else? Everything Chucky has can be a weapon. Literally everything. The air pump goes straight through the teacher's chest. The pipe bit at the end. I don't know whether like older pumps were really spiky at the front or not, but I'm assuming they're not super spiky to the point where you can use it to impale someone. I know it doesn't kill the teacher, but it must really have hurt her because there was a good chunk of blood that came out of her. And then finishing her off with a ruler. Okay. So yeah, like, it seems to be anything Chucky has in his hands can be made into a weapon. Also, Chucky's got super strength, even though he's a doll. He manages to push humans around, full-size humans, not just kids, about. You see it on the first one and in the second one, and it's like, okay. Alright. And he seems almost impervious to wounds and stuff. This second one, when he's like stuck in the doll's body, he seems to be in a weakened state. And I know that like dolls are made of plastic, but plastic is still gonna hurt you, surely. So yeah, so that's what we've got so far, is that Chucky, as long as one element of Chucky survives, he can still live. At this point in the universe, he is stuck in his doll form. That's what the movies have told us, is that he almost was stuck in the first one, and then by this one, he is now officially stuck in the doll form. I don't know whether it's every time he gets resurrected, he gets a small amount of time or not. We'll find that out in the third one. That seems to be a rule as well. And also, anything Chucky has in his hands, regardless of how lethal or non-lethal it is automatically a weapon that he can use to kill people. See how that goes along the way. Anyway guys, this has been my review of Child's Play 2. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as some of you have enjoyed the first one. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this whole saga. Maybe Child Play is your favourite horror movie saga. If not, let me know guys what your favourite horror movie saga is. I'd love to know, and if I haven't already done it, if you guys want me to for next Halloween, I don't mind diving into some of these others. As I said, I could do Evil Dead, but that would only give me one video a week to do, which is fairly doable. I can find some other stuff to do during the week of Halloween as well. I could do the Final Destinations. I could even actually conquer the entirety of the Nightmare on Elm Street, but we'll see how we go, because last year I did the first one and forgot to do the rest. But I can always do that. Or I can even do Friday the 13th for you guys. I haven't actually watched any but the reboot that came out a few years back. Quite a while actually. There's been no one since, I've not seen that one. Yeah, like the newer one, it's called Friday the 13th. I've seen that one, none of the others. So I could do that for you guys. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next one, I will see you guys later. Bye!